this is another one take one. BB was at the White House yesterday, and they had a dinner, and it was a whole press conference, and I was watching it, and I was like, this is kind of crazy. There are points throughout it where there were just like things that I wanted to kind of just get out here. I might chop it up later, I might not, but for now, this is a one take video. This is I just, these two men are so despicable. They're both, one is actively committing a genocide. It's interesting how the official death toll is only 60,000, which is tragic in and of itself. And even if that was like the end of it, it would still be a genocide, and that's still disgusting and immoral and absolutely despicable. But the population of Palestine has dropped from 2.2 million, I believe, to 1.8 right now, which is, I'm gonna let that sit there and speak for itself. Likely a lot of people are fleeing as well, but you can't deny the sheer amount of bombs, which has also been disastrous for the climate in and of itself, is not conducive to the numbers that we're seeing. And then also Trump actively trying to replicate that, not only in like a neighboring country or whatnot, but in this country, not for territory, but kind of for political prudence. There's not much of a logistical reason as to why Trump would necessarily want to commit genocide within the United States, other than to put away political dissidents. As Alligator Alcatraz is one of the first concentration camps that will be built, and there will be more. And it's despicable to see, but there are things to be said, and there are things to come that can be analyzed and can be learned from, even if that's not like within the United States. We learn from it. Other people need to take notes of what is happening here.
Phoebe and Sarah with us, friends of mine for a long time, and we had a tremendous success together. And I think it will only go on to be even greater.
Not apply their strategy, but apply analysis onto. We have an example. We have a historical example. These are literal Wonder Woman parallels with friggin' the guy with the mustache, but I digress.
Success in the future, so it's really nice to have you at the White House. It's nothing like the White House, and it's great to have you both and all of your wonderful people, Ron. We've worked together for a long time, and we've done well together. We had a great time. I would say it's a lot of work, but we had a great result.
Trump's love language is absolutely just. It's words of admiration. It's words of affection or something like that. Because he sits there and glazes everyone, and like the one way that you can get what you want is either by bribing him or by glazing him. This man, he knows what he wants.
Recently, and we're gonna have a lot of great results. So it's great to have you. Thank you very much.
That's the art of the deal. Glaze.
I want to express the appreciation and admiration, not only of all Israelis, but of the Jewish people.
You don't speak.
And forging peace as we speak in one country and one region after the other. So I want to present to you, Mr. President, the letter I sent to the Nobel Prize Committee. It's nominating you for the Peace Prize, which is well deserved.
War criminal.
And you should get it.
Other war criminal.
Thank you very much. This I didn't know. Well, I appreciate it.
Mr. President, have you spoken with any of the families of the victims of the Texas flood? And can you talk about what you would like to do when you travel there on Friday?
Well, we're going to just make it as comfortable as possible for the state of Texas. They have a great governor. They have wonderful senators. They have wonderful representatives, and we're going to work together with them. And we have been working really very hard.
They did have the ability to put in the infrastructure to be able to warn the people, although we don't know. We don't know what the other timeline would have looked like, whether or not that would have like allowed everyone going to survive, but that would have saved some people. That would have been better than what we did not have. Lives would have been able to be prevented from being lost, and that's a tragedy that it leads to anger, which is almost all tragedies nowadays.
A number of IDF soldiers reportedly have been injured, possibly killed. Does that in any way put a wrinkle in ceasefire negotiations with Hamas?
I don't think so. They want it. They want to meet, and they want to have that ceasefire. So I don't think so. Steve, could you respond to this? You know about it?
Well, I think it's terribly unfortunate.
A lot of what Trump wants within these ceasefire negotiations is kind of just to get them over with so that he can be seen as the peaceful dove again, because he sees his honestly, if Trump genuinely does like give the Palestinians like full like respite from the ongoing slaughter that they have been experiencing, and like actually gives Palestinian people some semblance of sovereignty back, that then please, right, if they're able to not only stop the genocide but also help the Palestinian people to hold their independence from the colonial agent that is the Israeli occupied project, right? The settler colonial project that is Israel, right? If Trump is able to do that, I'll be the first one to kiss the ring. You know what I mean? Until he does something stupid again. But I doubt he's going to do that. Just on the fact that he's sitting across, in this image, is sitting across from the guy who is actively doing said genocide, and is really just there to. I have no doubts that Trump himself wants the violence to stop, but he kind of only wants to be seen as the peaceful dove. It's all optics for him.
Mr. President, are the tariff letters that you sent today final offers, or are they negotiable?
More or less final offer.
So South Korea, Japan should take it or
We're
leave
always
it?
subject to negotiate something that's fair, but we've talked to most of the countries, and pretty much they've had their way for many, many decades, as you know. And it was time that we just wanted fairness. This is not really equitable from our standpoint, because it's just a small token by comparison to the damage that's been done over the years.
That's not much, but like the fact that they were speaking on equity as a conservative.
But we had no other president that was willing to do this. I did it in my first term with China and others. We took in hundreds of billions of dollars of tariffs.
Hundreds of billions
no inflation,
of dollars.
The most.
This is completely a tangent, but like some of the southern accents are starting to Francify their the way that they say billion, billion, kind of like slurring those L's together into like a Y sound, whereas like V instead of like in fille, that's like daughter, F-I-L-L-E, fille instead of fille, kind of thing. I think that's cool. But yeah, no, all this tariff stuff is, it's remarkable how this man thinks, because on the one hand, I do think it's part of his like genuine belief that like these tariffs will bring prosperity to the U.S., but there's also just the ability for it's the fact that like these recent tariffs were put on countries that like he can boss around kind of thing, were also kind of just the same tariffs as before, and he wants to create a tribute system with it. He just wants them to be able to pay homage. It's like, yo, pay up, even though we're already in like the hottest position. Oh my God! And this was another position that like I was saying here, is like everyone starts to talk like him. I've never said like the hottest ever until like I started listening to more Trump talk or whatever. He doesn't. he's trying to create a tribute system via tariffs, but I genuinely don't think he understands how they work. And because he's got a lot of yes men behind him, he's gonna be in for a big surprise if he actually goes through with him, because Taco Trump always chickens out. That's all he is. He's a taco Trump.
Successful period of time that we've ever had financially in the country. The first term, I think this term is going to be much better, even much better than that. That was the best ever, and this is going to be, I think, substantially better. And we're on the way to doing that. We've already taken in over $100 billion worth of tariffs, and we haven't even started.
We need an economic powerhouse of a president. We need someone who's economically left, bro. None of these war criminals who were. Even Obama was like anti-gay marriage, I think, or something like that, right? Wasn't he? He wasn't even like socially progressive. He was just like establishment liberal saying we need something different.
And all I say to the other countries
or maybe
is,
I'm wrong.
Some of them
I was
want to
born
make a deal
when he
and
was
want to be
elected.
fair. We'll do it.
And the August 1 deadline, I mean, is the August 1 deadline firm now? Is that it?
I would
Because
say
you're moving it now?
firm.
It's
No,
firm,
I would say
but
firm,
a
but not
little
100% firm. They call up and they say,
Is your Palestinian relocation plan still on the table? Is there a
Ooh,
plan?
ethnic cleansing.
Any progress in finding countries to accept
Bibi, why don't I
Palestinians?
let you answer that question?
Mr. President,
Wait a minute, wait, he's got to answer the question.
I think President Trump had a brilliant vision. It's called free choice. You know, if people want to stay, they can stay. But if they want to leave, they should be able to leave. It shouldn't be
Okay.
a prison. It should be an open
Fair.
place and
Yeah.
give people a free choice. We're working with the United States.
But except it's their land. Why would they want to leave? Are you working with him to make it so that they would want to leave?
Closely about finding countries that will seek to realize what they always say, that they want to give the Palestinians a better future, and those who
Why can't they have a
And I
better
think
future in
we're,
Palestine?
we're getting close to finding several countries, and I think this will give, again, the freedom to choose. Palestinians should have it, and I hope that we can secure it close by.
And we've had great cooperation from surrounding.
That's directly from the perspective of like, oh yeah, we're going to steal your house. We are going to like own your house. I am your bank deed, like your mortgage, that's all mine. You have no agency in where you are. But you can like go. You can like kind of leave if you want. But you can stay. I mean, I'm gonna like turn up the AC to the point where you need like extra blankets to be able to sit in your living room comfortably. But no, you can kind of stay. No, I'm gonna turn off the power from your from your refrigerator. Oh, but you can stay. No, it's okay. Yeah, no, I just like will refuse for there to be internet service within your house. But no, you can stay if you want to. You just want the house, my guy.
Mr. President, you've mentioned before you want to go down as your legacy as the peacemaker.
What did I say?
We did, and others that were ready to fight, and we stopped a lot of fights. I think a very big one, frankly, a very, very big one was India and Pakistan, and we stopped that over trade. We're dealing with India and we're dealing with Pakistan, and we say we're not
India
going to
and
be dealing with you at all if you're going to fight.
They
And they
didn't
were
stop
maybe at a
because
nuclear stage. They're both,
say that you
nuclear
didn't end
powers.
it.
And this was a war that was never going to happen. Go ahead, bro.
I was just going to say, how would you address your critics that in the election they said that you would cause the next World War III, when in fact you're solving all the problems.
I'm stopping wars. I'm stopping wars. And
Just the way he can
I hate to see people killed.
he
Like,
moved his
as an
hand.
example, Ukraine and Russia. They're not Americans there being killed. They're not Israeli that are being killed. These are all Russians.
That's the thing. He's genuinely disappointed to hear that people are like that people don't like him. I'm like, if this were medieval times, and Trump was like the king instead, he would have people executed for saying he's stupid or something like that. He is that sort of guy.
And now, so they don't come from here, but it's 7,000 last week souls. And if I can stop that, they have parents and they have sisters and brothers, and getting married, and who knows? They're just people, but they're so.
He would do this on the campaign trail too. He would talk not this specifically. He would more gruesomely would talk about like victims of like real crime and real tragedy or whatnot, and would like very violently relive the details and stuff like that to go into to kind of build sympathy or whatever. But he would say it in such a not even a matter of fact way. He would say it in such a theatrical kind of way that it's almost gross. It feels as if he doesn't actually feel any empathy for them, but is kind of just like reporting a story. And not even just like reporting a story. He's like, it feels manipulative in a sense, and it's, I don't know. That's just the perception of it. Obviously, I'm not Trump. I don't know him psychologically.
And
The Iran talks, can you say if you've scheduled the next round of Iran talks? And then also on strikes.
we have scheduled Iran talks, and they want to talk. They took a big drubbing, I think, when we hit nuclear, and we want to keep it non-nuclear, by the way. But they did a phenomenal job. It was an amazing job, and I think that was, I was talking to Bibi about it before, that was the very beginning of the end. It ended very quickly after that. I don't want to say what it reminded me of, but if you go back a long time ago, it reminded people of a certain other event.
He's talking about Nagasaki and Hiroshima.
Harry Truman's picture is now in the lobby, in a nice location in the lobby where it should have been, but that stopped a lot of fighting.
I'm so appalled just like by the American attitude to that, like in general. Like, forget Trump for a second. People don't look back on Hiroshima and Nagasaki as like one of the most depraved things that the U.S. government has done. We're the only country who was insane enough to use a nuclear weapon in war. That's what? And we didn't even need to, because we were already bombing the hell out of them, one, and they were likely going to surrender at like before and even like during. I don't know. Not even just the fact that we did it once, we did it twice. On top of everything else, and then he's glazing the use of nuclear weapons on civilians.
And this stopped a lot of fighting. When that happened, it was a whole different ballgame. 1 o'clock, they said, would you like to make it later? I said, no, let them come at 1 o'clock. And at 1 o'clock, everybody was, as you know, over 5,000 people left the base. And we had 3 guns.
Trump is like, he kind of, when he goes off those like tangents about like, yeah, no, he asked us when is the good time to bomb, and it's like kind of like you're organizing like a date or something. It's, from what I'm aware of, nations do speak to each other in a similar sense. I don't know how accurate that is. I don't know how much of that is just like him being flamboyant about it, and and like Iran actually going up to them being like, okay, can I strike here or here? Or honestly, if I were around, I probably might have done the same thing if my goal wasn't to like necessarily cause World War III, right? If my intention is directly to like avert crisis, I'm gonna do like Iran and create an off-ramp for Donald Trump, because he is very so eager to be perceived as a peaceful dove that he will take any off-ramp to quit an escalation for a war that was increasingly unpopular within the American public. But you know, that's me from my perspective. That's what Iran did. But that's also, I'm not within the government. I'm just like a kind of guy from the ground reading the stuff that comes up from the top kind of thing.
And 3 assistants, and out of the 14 that we shot, all 14 were knocked down, and that was the end. That was about it. And we had We had a rough time, but sometimes, sometimes you need the rough time in order to get. I think things are going to be really settled down a lot in the Middle East, and they respect us, and they respect Israel. They respect a lot of things that took place. Nobody's ever seen equipment like what we sent over to knock out those sites. But when those sites were knocked out, that was the end.
Do you think that there can be a
I saw conflicting reports as to whether or
two-state
not
solution that creates?
I saw
I
conflicting
don't know.
reports as to whether or not he
That question.
actually.
You have the greatest man
hit
in the
nuclear
world to
sites.
answer that age-old question, two-state. Go ahead, you give him your honest answer.
I think the Palestinians should have all the powers to govern themselves, but none of the powers to threaten us. And that means that certain powers, like overall security, will always remain in our hands. Now, that is a fact. And no one in Israel will agree to anything else because we don't commit suicide. We want life, we cherish life for ourselves, for our neighbors, and I think we can.
That's the forever enemy that just wants to kill you because you are you, right? This idea that we need to hold up defenses and that I need to continue. Obviously, I need to continue occupying, or else they're gonna come out and attack me again. And it's like maybe figure out why they're attacking you, or at least recognize why, because I think you know. And even then, the attacks that you are getting are nothing like what you are portraying them to be. And as it is, every lie, every accusation is a confession out of the Israeli government, right? The beheading babies thing was absolutely an IDF like activity that was done and then accused that the Palestinian resistance groups continued to do. 40 beheaded babies is insane, but it's also there were beheaded babies done from the IDF. People who had their private areas cut completely off, shoved down their throats, flailed around as trophies and whatnot. They had babies thrown into ovens, right? These things that the Israeli government calls out as almost in a blood libel kind of way, and oh my god, look at how they're using the blood of our nation's people to they're eating it kind of thing, and it in a gross non-human kind of way, trying to dehumanize them in that sort of sense. That violence was carried out by terrorist groups during the Nakba that would later become the IDF. Every accusation is a confession.
Probably the next mayor of New York City is
On the same face I was.
Democratic socialist and a vocal critic of Israel and of yourself, and has said
Mamdani!
he would arrest you if you came to New York City if he was mayor. Is that something you take seriously? Are you concerned about that? Do you have a response to that?
No, I'm not concerned about that.
I'll get him out.
Look, there's enough craziness in the world.
He's talking about using political power to remove dissidents. There's so much for I don't know, rule of law. I think that falls under that umbrella, I think. Yeah. But no, that's just but also when it comes to the conversation between Trump and Mamdani, they're two charismatic figures, right? But one is clearly much more charismatic than the other, and I don't understand how Trump was able to build a cult following. I don't understand how this man is beloved so much to the point where I've seen people get tattoos of much smaller, but there's the MAGA fashion shows. Have you seen that? It's wild how much they idolize him, but even if I don't think even as a person on the left, right, as probably a bit further left than Mamdani is presenting himself on this campaign trail, Um, I don't think I would necessarily ever even push myself to the level to where my entire ideological alignment is just like whatever Mamdani says. I don't get that. That doesn't make sense. Even if Mamdani, like he's a really charismatic figure. I like the guy. I really like the guy. But like, if he were to come out tomorrow and like turned out to be like he doesn't even have to be Trumpian. He was like a libertarian, a right libertarian or something like that, or even just like an establishment Democrat, right? I would turn on him because that's not what you stood for. I'm here for what you stand for, not for what you. In MAGA eyes, he stands for anti-establishment, right? But even when he does establishment stuff, even like when he like does the whole like his administration covers up like Epstein stuff, right? When a lot of MAGA is like, yeah, no, Epstein absolutely did not kill himself, which I'm not gonna say much on that, right? But that's what the base understands to be the truth, to be their truth, but that's but when his administration does the cover up, you've got Alex Jones assuming that he's just using the blackmail to blackmail the deep state, to blackmail the deep state, and he's just mad that Trump is like that Trump looks bad when when he does this, instead of like understanding that he is the establishment now. You know what I mean? I don't know.
I guess after which they massacred our people, raped our women, beheaded our men, invaded our cities and our towns and our kibbutzim, and did horrendous massacres.
The kibbutzim. Oh my God, the kibbutzim. It's one. They're not even like the communist safe haven that we've like that people like to assume that they are. You know what I mean? They're not like a means of a socialist like utopia of like, let's share the means of production and we live communally and we also live statelessly, moneylessly, and classlessly, and we all work in the commons and whatnot. That's not what the kibbutzim are contemporarily, and I don't know what they were historically. I haven't looked deeply into it in terms of like the historical side of it, but a lot of it is privatized. A lot of it is also just like state territory, and it's not. And they, from what I do know of their history, it is also a very colonial history of like taking these making the desert bloom, the desert that is historically fertile land that has been cultivated by Palestinians and their ancestors who were the ancient Israelites for thousands and like hundreds of thousands of tens of thousands of years. Let's not say hundreds, right? But tens of thousands of years, right? And then it's just like, and even before the Israelites, it would be the Canaanites, who were one and the same. Call me sacrilegious for saying that, but like the Israelites who came from Egypt, right? Would have been like a small section thereof who then and joined Canaanite society, whose religion became dominant, kind of thing. We're not a people who came and settled there. Because people and identities change, but the population has remained the same Semitic population for most.
The kind of which we didn't
history.
see since World War II and the Nazis, the Holocaust. So people.
What?
The kind of which we didn't see since World War II and the.
Oh, the massacres. You had the massacres you haven't seen since the Holocaust.
Towns,
okay. Yeah.
And our kibbutzim, and did horrendous.
I'm sure he means like all the Jewish people, but like there's a there's a part of that that's like we highlight the Holocaust, which is like a tragedy, right? But then we refuse to recognize that it's not just an exclusive thing that is done to Jewish people. The Leopold II, the Congolese genocide, where 40 million Africans were executed. The American genocide on the Native Americans. The West Papuan genocide from Indonesia. There's the Rwandan genocide and whatnot, and all these things, especially and including the Palestinian genocide. And it's like, you can see these things, and you can see these things happening, and you always go back to the white adjacent one. Why is that? Because it's easier to palette that history, that it's like it's a one-off thing, and we got to make sure that it never happens again. But just keep your eyes on this one state, right? This one Zionist entity, because that's all you need to worry about, because history happens in a bubble. The Holocaust happened in a bubble, right? Don't look at the things that led up to it, the historical evidence, the historical precedents, the historical understandings of what leads to genocide. Don't look and analyze that and apply that to any contemporary or historical things that have happened. Don't think critically. If people are killing Jewish people, that's a Holocaust too. That's all that is. It's just Hitlerism. And
horrendous massacres, the kind of which we didn't see since World War II and the Nazis.
And it's another thing. The inheritors of anti-Semitism are that's the idea that like the people who took on anti-Semitism after Hitler were the Muslims, right? When it's necessarily that these Arabic stereotypes and whatnot were some of the precursors for anti-Semitism. The entire concept of anti-Semitism came out of saying anti-Semitic. The point of saying I am against Semitic peoples, referring to Jews, is to associate them with the already demonized Semitic populations, which were Arab and Muslim. And the whole Great Replacement was like a Hitlerite thing that they've come to poison the lifeblood of our nation, right? Or that's what like the West is doing, whereas like Israel is taking they want to kill us all kind of narrative, whereas you're doing that. They're the inheritors of the recipients of anti-Semitism.
Again.
So we'll see you in New York next year?
Oh, well, look, I'm going to come there with the President Trump.
Ugh. Honestly, do. Please, dear God, I want to see you arrested. you need to go be tried at the ICC, if that would do anything. You and Ruto, please. And honestly, Trump.
And
Keep persecuting him, and he will.
do we know that?
He's going to be very fine, and who knows, we don't know who
The
the
mayor
mayor's
will
going to
be
be
very
yet.
fine.
But this is a communist. He's not a socialist. He's a communist. And
I
he said some
hope-
really bad things about Jewish people, and he
No,
said
he
some really
hasn't.
bad things about a lot of people. And I think he's going through a little bit of a honeymoon right now, but he might make it. But you know, it all comes through the
might.
White House. He needs the money through the White House. He needs a lot. He's going to behave. He'll behave. He better behave, otherwise he's going to have big problems. But it's a philosophy that this country is not
Power to
ready
control
for, and it never
dissidents.
will be. By the way, we have.
But America's foes had better fear us. And that is a message that the president sent to everyone on the
50% tariff
planet.
on copper?
And it is a message that will resonate toward a matter of peace, the likes.
Let me read this real quick. On July 8th, this is a ground news summary. Look into it more. On July 8th, the White House cabinet meeting with the D.C. In D.C., President Trump stated his intent purpose of implementing a tariff on copper. This is besides the point. Let me lock in.
It had to do with that incredible.
You know, it's funny because we hear so much about putting tariffs on countries that I forgot, like, the whole purpose of tariffs is to, like, isolate foreign like products from being manufactured and brought here to where you can bolster domestic infrastructure and domestic production, and so following that, the logic is to tariff items rather than countries. But Trump's like belligerence and just openness and being like, no, I want you to pay tribute. If you don't pay tribute, I'll chicken out and I'll say I don't want you to pay tribute anymore. We'll give you 90 deals in 90 days. That's what I'll say, but I'll never get it done. He just keeps going on and saying stuff like that, and I've been hearing over and over and over again, tariffs on China, tariffs on Japan, tariffs on Myanmar, tariffs on that Penguin Island and whatnot, but you're not hearing anything on the tariffs on copper, which is kind of silly.
Can you imagine? Yeah.
God, he
On Ukraine,
is.
Mr. President, are you planning to send more weapons to Ukraine?
We're going to send some more weapons. We have to. They have to be able to defend themselves. They're getting hit very hard now. They're getting hit very hard. We're going to have to send more weapons. Yeah, defensive weapons, primarily.
he doesn't like Putin no
They're
more.
getting hit very, very hard.
President, with the one big beautiful bill now signed into law by you, what would you like congressional Republicans to turn their focus to?
All they have to do now is talk about how good it is. The biggest tax cuts ever.
All they gotta
tax
do now
on
is
tips, no tax on
glaze.
Social Security. Think of it. No tax on overtime.
Except none of that is gonna go and apply to the individuals there, and I think those aren't even going in until like after midterms, so that people don't see the fact that they're not going to get like immediate. They're still gonna get taxed. They're just gonna like get a bigger return, right? And one, but also two, that is gonna be like marginal compared to the substantial losses that you're getting. And also, it's the same people who are like, yeah, no tax on tips, yeah, no tax on tips, that are also like so reluctant to like they get like angry whenever like a person asks for a tip, kind of thing, or like where like they spin around the iPad and you're like, what the hell is this, kind of thing, and we'll like complain about stuff like that. But then we'll sit there and not be like, yeah, no tax on tips, yeah, no tax on tips, which I heard that it was worse than that, but I think that's already bad enough, given the fact that the reason that these people are surviving on tips in the first place is the fact that they're not getting paid jack shit. And they're getting paid like sometimes like $2 an hour for tip services, even though we have like a federal minimum wage. They're like different minimum wages, and for tip services, I think especially in, I could be wrong, but especially in like waiting services and whatnot, it can go down as low as like $2 an hour, which is despicable. And these people are living off of these tips but aren't making enough for it to be taxed. And it'll say no tax on tips, yeah, but it won't affect you, because these companies are just like so goddamn greedy, are so unsatiably hungry to steal money from the working poor. I think the maybe a better legislation would have been like mandatory unions. I don't know. I don't know how that would look. That just came off the top of my head, but it might be good. Who's to say?
The things that, from a business standpoint, you'd understand. The jobs that are being created in.
Actually, better legislation would be immediate seizure and return of the means of production from the capital class into the hands of the working class. Preferably not through state, but through the abolishment of the concept of a the concept of an authoritarian boss, right? It's the same power structure that like people are so afraid of whenever they're talking about their government. It's like, no, I don't want to live under a dictator, but you work for a dictator, and you get barely any say in how you live unless you work in a union. And even then, people don't want to work in unions because they've been so fear-mongered against it. I don't know.
One of the things that is, and this is also that, but it's also because of the tariffs, a tremendous success. We're taking in hundreds of billions of dollars in tariffs.
Billions of dollars.
And one of the things that is so exciting is the number of companies and car companies where they're building plants. AI is the big thing. We have over $15 trillion announced already, and it's been, I mean, really, I would say it's been during the last 3 months, but we're here for a short period of time, and some administrations never
Workplace democracy. That's the concept I was thinking of. Oh
anywhere near that number
Mandatory
for a whole
democracy.
term, probably for a whole 2 terms. But we're up to over 15 trillion. I said, you know, the King of Saudi Arabia, smart guy, and also we went to Qatar and we went to UAE.
I think we're still kind of very feudal in the way that we structure our like boss. We're very feudal in the way that we structure work in like American society specifically. I think instead of thinking of it as like, oh yeah, it's either the company owns your job or like the business or the state owns your job, why not the workers? Right? It's like the president doesn't own the country, the people own the country, I thought. Right? I don't want a dictator. I don't know.
Really 3 strong.
I don't want a feudal lord. It's so feudal. McDonald's literally has a CEO, a rich person at the top who makes all the money, right? And then delineates that to like the overseers and like all those the other like the people who were like in the like nebulous in between and whatnot, down to like the managers, and those are like the nobles that come and like collect the taxes and whatnot. And then you have the feudal serfs and the workers who get paid like marginally, who are like wage slaves for this feudal like structure. And different kingdoms are just different like companies and whatnot, which are all owned by the same 3 companies, the same 3 investment firms, and it's like like monopoly was never made illegal. It's just rich people suck.
Leaders, and now you're presiding over the hottest country anywhere in the world. We're the hottest country in the world. I think Bibi would admit it, even hotter than Israel. Although Israel was pretty hot about a week ago, I can tell you, for the wrong reasons. But we are the hottest country in the world right now, and it happened faster than anybody thought possible. But we have over $15 trillion, and that means jobs, and that means building, and that means things like we've never.
The reason it's either he's propagandizing, right? It's either he's like just saying that so that the people watching aren't like worried that their big beautiful president isn't doing a big beautiful job at running his big beautiful country, right? It's the I think part of him genuinely believes that because these other like world leaders are so good at kissing up to him that like they'll tell him anything he wants to hear, and he's like, yeah, no, you've definitely got the hottest country in the world, and we'll just it will just say that for him, and it'll like take that to heart, and because he's such a narcissist.
For it. Now, if that's not the case, we are ready, willing, and able, but I don't think we're going to have to be. But I think Bibi would answer that question, Vera. Yeah, I think Iran wants to meet. I think they want to make peace, and I'm all for it.
what the
Now,
fuck
if that's
they're
not the
doing.
case, we are ready, willing, and able. But I don't think we're going to have to be. But I think Bibi would answer that question very well.
I think the partnership between Israel and
Ooh, did you feel the tension on that? That was a much different delegation of the question than than what he usually does. That was, I don't know how to describe it. He was like, I want Bibi to answer this one, and I think it's because he knows he's trying to test if Bibi's loyalty a little bit.
the nuclear tumor and the ballistic missile tumor, because they were planning to build 20,000 of these things and launch it on a country the size of New Jersey. And no country could withstand that. So what do you do when you
Israel's
have
small
two
bean.
things that are going to kill you? You have to remove them. With our combined effort, we did. But when you remove a tumor, doesn't mean that it can't come back. You have to constantly monitor the situation to make sure that there's no attempt to bring it back. So we've had a great achievement, and I think part of the effort of consolidating this and ensuring that we don't have to repeat
Watch
this
Don,
is
is
to
mad?
monitor
Is
this
Don mad?
carefully. This is a historic victory, and I think, as was said here
Okay.
today, this has
Gotta soften
already
the blow a little
changed the
bit.
face of the Middle East.
But it's not over in your view.
But I think that there is an opportunity here to create a historic, deserve a Nobel
That
Prize for the
reporter-
president.
That
But I think the
reporter
opportunities
instigated.
are
That
much
reporter's
bigger.
messy.
And I hope, I'd like to believe that Iran would not test our fortitude, because it would be a mistake.
And
It's better to go a different way.
do you believe the regime change is still necessary there?
I think it's up to the people of Iran.
You do.
The situation which we brought about with the collapse of the Assad regime.
Are there direct talks with the Al-Shabaab government?
Now, let's suppose there were. Would I answer yes? No, right?
That's my duty to ask. I
Right?
appreciate it.
It's your duty to ask, and my duty to ask you back, so.
You know, at the request of a lot of countries in the surrounding area of the Middle East, including Bibi,
He does not have the charm. He was looking around being like, where's my laughter? The whole room laughs when Trump cracks a joke.
we
you
took
see that?
the area of the Middle East, including Bibi. We took
Tough
the
crowd.
sanctions off Syria, and I met the. So it's a shame when you see a thing like this happen. But I think that taking the sanctions off of Syria is going to give Syria a great shot at making it.
Mr. President, a congressional question. Are there any executive orders that you'd like to see Congress focus on when they come back in session? Do you have any that you prioritize to go first?
Well, we've done a lot of them in the last, as you know, and I always say the
I think it's funny, just on the conversation of like sanctions and like free trade and whatnot. I think it's funny how a country that like not even specifically on Trump, but like a country that is like so pro free trade is so ready and willing to implement sanctions on like anybody they just don't like. You know what I mean? It's like, oh yeah, free trade, even with our enemies, but like, I think we have to put sanctions on you and on you and on you. They, it's irky a little bit. It's just like free trade for the people, for me and my friends, because I'm the family. I'm the bully of the world. The U.S. is literally like when the villain gets his way and is world domination. Now wants more world domination kind of thing.
things that we did, executive orders have been codified in the legislation that we just had passed. And we're going to be sending in a lot more over the next period of about 2 months separately. But a lot of it was part of that beautiful big bill.
Mr. President, Harris.
He doesn't remember what it was called.
90 trade deals in 90 days.
Ooh.
Oh, we've spoken to everybody. We know it's all done.
Let's date.
Okay.
I told you we're doing the way I do it. But we could be getting a
Yeah,
lot
we're
more. We could
tacoing.
ask for a lot more than what we're asking for.
Let's say we're done, because you're sending the letters, to follow up on what Ed had asked earlier. You're counting these as deals by saying, here's the tariff rate we're going to charge.
Right,
I'm saying,
yeah.
here it is, congratulations, welcome to the United States. I hope you make a lot of money and you're going to pay us money. They were ripping us. They were charging us tariffs at levels that
Is he trying to
nobody's
make a
ever seen
pyramid
before. We have
scheme
some countries who are charging
of
200%
the world
tariffs and
and
making
put
it
himself at the
impossible
top?
to do business. And what the tariffs are doing is they're driving people in and companies into the United States. That's why we're building all of the work that you see happening in this country right now, and it's at a record level. All the factories, all of the AI institutions that are being built. It's largely because, well, I think it's because of November 5th, the good election, and I think it's because of the tariffs. Thank you all very much. Thank you. Thank you.
That was a bit of a ramble. I thought it was just because I was like unlocked a little bit. That I feel like he just went around and kind of dodged the question a little bit, but he did kind of answer it. Is like, yeah, no, these letters are deals, is what he's saying. He's saying that he's lying, is what he's saying, and saying that, like, yeah, no, we're gonna make a lot of money, we're gonna win real good. He's scamming because he's a con man. That's what he does. We are at 1 minute and 1 hour and 23 minutes on my OBS. I'm definitely gonna cut this up. This does not need to be an hour-long video. I feel like I would only make hour-long like deep dives. This is just like a couple thoughts here and there, springboarded from this Trump Netanyahu meeting. Yeah, that's all.